Hello everyone, welcome to Gary Mac Studio. Today I'm going to paint start a picture of Grand Tetons National Park that I visited several times and taken some pictures of the mountains there. And I want to have some really sunlit, beautiful clouds in this area, and this is, most of it is just from memory. I do have one photograph of some mountains, but it's going to be a compilation of several different mountains that I had taken, and most of it's just from memory. Actually, this is not going to, part of it will be an actual place, but then some of it is going to be just figments of my imagination, because I want a fall scene with lots of bright colored aspens down in a valley, and I've got it kind of sketched off. I got some mountains in. I'm going to have some big, puffy, beautiful clouds up in this area. With sun. Sun's going to come from left to right, and it's going to be down in a deep valley, and then it's going to have aspens all along these mountainside. And some cliffs, mountains. It's just going to have a whole variety of stuff in this one, and hopefully it will turn out. Hopefully it'll turn out as beautiful as I have it in my mind. So we'll just get started and see how it goes. And hey guys, so please subscribe to Gary Mac Studio and follow along on these tutorials. And because I'm going to show you how I'm going to paint these big, fluffy, sunlit clouds, and then Snow Peak Mountains, and then these aspens and pine trees and cliffs all down in this area. And these will be acrylic, and this canvas is a 36 by 24 stretch. And I've got a couple of coats of gesso, and then on these acrylics I like to take regular house paint, that a primer, and put on, and it gives a really nice surface for these acrylics. Will flow on real smooth. So you'll see what I'm talking about here in just a moment. So let's just get started on this, and let's see what happens. Acrylics, they like a soft synthetic brush, and the bristle brushes will work good in some applications, but mostly for the acrylics, they like a soft bristle brush. And I'm going to have a relatively dark blue sky, which is common for that area over in the Grand Teton National Park. And spray a little bit of water on there, and then let this paint flow just a little bit smoother. And I nearly always mix my paint right on the canvas. I don't spend a lot of time mixing paints on my palette when I can do the same thing up on the canvas. And I don't like, I like variances in saturation of my sky. And that's one of the main reasons that I like to mix my paints on the right on the canvas because I can get these variations. And like some of these areas that are a little bit lighter, some areas that are a little bit darker. And here in just a little bit, I'll show you why. I'll show you exactly why I do that. So right now I'm just going to get some sky in, and I'm going to work from top down as I normally always do on landscapes. And I'm going to leave just a hint of this undercolor in there in a few areas and places, and I'll show you why here in just a little while. Okay, that's about all I'm going to do in the sky. Maybe just a little bit darker right up in this area, because I'm going to, the darker the sky is, the brighter these clouds are going to show. The brighter the clouds are going to be exposed, because I want these clouds to really shine on this in this painting. So it looks pretty good. I'm not going to do a whole lot. I'm going to leave a little bit of this orangey color bleed through on this. So I'm going to let that dry for a minute, and then I'm going to take, I've got this gray color, and I'm going to tone it down just a little bit with some white. This gray color is one third burnt umber, 1/3 cerulean blue, and 1/3 ultramarine blue. And it makes this beautiful bluish gray color that really goes good for mountains that are pushed back in I can't think of the word that I'm trying to come up with. atmosphere. That's what I was trying to come up with. I knew I'd finally get it sooner or later, maybe. The older I get, the harder it is. Harder words come. And then the closer you come down front, the darker these values get. So right over in this area, it's going to be relatively dark, and then we're going to put some really beautiful highlights on those. These are going to be cliffs right here. So, and then these are going to be cliffs back in this area, and I'm going to try and get them pushed back and then down in this area, I'm going to come up just a little bit right here. And this one's going to come down into this valley way down in here, something like so. So this is already almost dry up in this area, and I'll start putting some clouds in here in just a little while. In a few minutes, right now, I'm going to get some of these mountains kind of blocked in, and the way I want these to come in. And I'm going to take some Hooker's Green Deep. I use Hooker's Green Deep a whole lot. You guys who've been watching me know that I use this color a lot. It's kind of hard to find, but it's almost black. And you can mix it with yellows and get just about any color green that you want. So right down in this area, I'm going to put this dark green down in here. I'm going to mix just a little bit of yellow in it so it won't be quite so dark. Spray a little bit of water on there and so this paint will flow. Because all of this down in this area down in here is going to be pine trees, or mostly pine trees. I want that a dark green. And then right along this area, we're going to have another ridge come right down across here. And down in this area, down in here, this is all going to be, it's all going to be pine trees. All down in this area, all down in here, up and around. And I want to have some atmosphere along down in this valley. And it's just going to be pretty, I hope. I think it will be. We'll just see how it goes here. Let me clean this brush out. We'll start painting in some of these clouds. So I'm going to take a little 1/2-inch filbert and I'm going to start putting in some of these clouds. Take some titanium white and a little hint of okay, this is still not completely dry yet. I'm going to let that dry just a little bit longer. And I will go ahead and I'll go ahead and work on the edges of this mountain right here. And these were Grand Tetons National Park, these mountains. Yeah, it's just a beautiful, beautiful place. I don't know if any of you have ever been to Grand Tetons National Park, but if you get a chance, you should go because it's just a fabulous, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful place. And we took a vacation and went up through there, all the way on up into Yellowstone's not far from here, and then went on up to Glacier National Park, which, oh, I'm telling you, Glacier is it's just marvelous as well. So right now I'm just getting some idea of where I want some of these highlights on the side of this mountain. Like I say, the sun's going to go from left to right. It's going to shine down on the face of these mountains. Let me change brushes right quick and get this small fan brush. And the fan brush will actually allow me to put in some of these highlights erratically, like snow is on the mountain. And then on this back side of these, that snow is going to be in shadows. So we will shadow this side of it down with some cerulean blue and a little bit of that gray color. So this side of the mountain are going to be shadows. It's going to look something like this. So you can see how these mountains are already beginning to, form. So I'm going to try and zoom in just a little bit in this area that I'm going to be working on. so you can get a better idea of what I'm doing here on this mountain. Okay, I'll speed this up, and I'm going to do a voiceover, so cut down on some time on this, because right now I'm at an hour and 43 minutes, but anyone who's wanting to learn and follow along will, an hour and 45-minute lesson is not that long. And anyone who wants to follow along and just see what how I do these acrylics, you can set up your paints, your easel, and just follow along with what I do. And if you get behind, just pause it and catch up. And if there's something you need to watch over, just rerun it backwards and start over, slow it down. And I'm fixing to put these clouds in, and some of you who's watched me do these clouds before, I usually like to finger paint those clouds in, and it just gives a really nice effect. And it really shows, it's easy to show layers of these clouds when you use this technique. And then sometimes I just use a brush to do them, but I prefer the finger because it smooths out those hard edges, and it really leaves those shadows blends those shadows in really nice with these acrylics. And I've done the same thing with oil paints, but I kind of shy away from using my finger with oil paints, because some of those that Acrylics white, it's made from lead, and I don't want to stick my finger in that and move it around. And these shadows are that gray color that I mixed with this cerulean blue and burnt umber and ultramarine blue. And then this is that same color, and I just added a little white to lighten it up some. And it just makes a really beautiful cloud. In the shadows of the clouds. And I left a little bit of that underpainting in there that gives that sky kind of a glow back in the background back in there. And then right here I added just a little bit of a orangey yellowish color to give those clouds a little bit of sun color. Because anytime you got sun shining on anything, it's not pure white. It'll be a yellowish, warmer color. And that is the beauty of that Acrylics white in oil paint, because it's not white like titanium white. And titanium white, it just ground up titanium ore into a really fine powder, and mix it with oil or acrylic or watercolors. It all mixes in. So here I'm just scattering in some clouds in the sky, and I'm getting them around where they'll they'll look even all the way around. So here I zoom back out a little bit, and I'm going to start putting in these mountains. And I love the mountains, and some of these mountains I took at Grand Teton National Park, and some of them I took at Glacier National Park. And Glacier, just a gorgeous place. If anybody's visited there, it's just majestic, and so are Grand Teton. And anywhere up and down the Rocky Mountain range, from Colorado, New Mexico, and all the way on up to Montana and on up into Canada, it's just gorgeous, beautiful mountain. I love mountains. I love everything about mountains. Always wanted to live in the mountains, but I couldn't get my wife to leave Texas. And if I went to live in the mountains, I'd have to leave her. She wouldn't leave Texas. She's a Texas girl all the way. And I met her in 1966. I moved to Fort Worth in 1966 from Plainview, Texas, up in the Texas Panhandle. I was born and raised up in that area. And there's no mountains up there. Now there is mountains in the southwest corner of Texas, down at the Big Bend area. There's some 8,500 feet mountains down in those Davis Mountains down in there, and there's some beautiful. They're desert mountains, and they're beautiful as well. It's just different from these Rocky Mountains. So here I'm just getting some aspen tree effects along the base of these cliffs right here. And as the painting progresses, you'll see how these will come along. And it's going to be a deep valley right down in the base of that down in there, and then I will put some foggy clouds, some atmosphere in there here in just a little bit. You'll see how I do that. And it just pushes those. Anytime you add atmosphere back into the background back in there, it pushes those back way on back into the background. And right here, I'm just trying to get some paint on these cliffs, some highlights, and then I'll jump around and come back to them later when this paint dries a little bit. And instead of trying to move that paint around, I'll just let it dry, and then I will paint over. And here I'm just getting some shadows in some areas, so it'll give those clouds. I mean those cliffs some depth. So you can kind of see that valley is developing right here, and I change it a little bit as I go along. We'll add a little here, a little there, and take away some here and some there, and actually just build the composition as I go. Very seldom will I sit down and do a composition on a study. Once in a while I will. I'll do a small drawing, a pencil drawing, and then sometimes I'll paint one, a quick study on a small canvas. But most of the time, I'll just start painting, and change it as I go, because these acrylics are really easy to change. Where oil paints is not so easy, because a lot of times you'll have to wait till those oil dry before you can paint over them and put a glaze over them. And that's one thing about acrylics is you use a lot of glaze techniques. You put in a color like a white, let it dry, and then take a real thin color of whatever color you would want it to be, and just with a dry brush, very little paint, and just skim over that, and it will color that white to any color that you desire. It's just a fun thing. It's just a fun thing to do. And I wrote a poem one day, and sometimes paintings would spawn inspire a poem, and then sometimes a poem would inspire a painting. I've done that before. I've written a poem and then I painted a picture. And then I was painting one day, and I thought, man, this is so much fun. So I stopped right in the middle of the painting, and I wrote this poem. And this was this is what come to mind. And I wrote, a virgin white stares back at me, void of life, nothing to see. No hills, no mountains, no flowers, no bees, no roads, no house, not even a tree. I'll give it life the eye demands. With colorful palette ready I stand. A swish of paint, oh it's so fun to create an image of life in the sun. What once was barren, nothing be, comes to life by the hand, and the ocean a sea. Creating a sky with clouds that bellow, a mountain arise from deep valleys below. A swish here, a swish there. I swish the paint, it's in my hair. With time so free, it is so fun to create a world where I only come. Expressions of me I hold in my hand, a brush that gives the life to the void within. A poem by Gary McGaw. And I write a lot of poetry, but that was my poem for the artist and the inner feelings. And there's really no other way to express feeling the way you can express it with poetry. Now then, painting is the same way. There's no other way to express what's inside your inner feeling, that you can communicate with someone else, and that is a visual. And what you're seeing right now is what was inside of me. What you're looking at is you're looking into my mind, my thoughts, and sometimes, and I've done this. I've sold paintings before, and actually, I get saddened when one of them leaves, because they're part of me. They're who I am. And anytime one of them leaves my gallery and goes into the hands of another, it really does sadden me. I don't know. It's hard to explain. I just love looking at my own art, but I am so blessed that someone else would would love looking at my art well enough to pay the price for it. And it's just a fun thing, and I've got photographs of all the paintings that I've sold and all the paintings that I've ever painted, I guess, or nearly all of them. Some of those first paintings, I started painting in about 1973, somewhere right in there. And I've been painting ever since, and I've painted hundreds of pictures. And if you notice on my right hand there that those scabs and those scar tissues, I had a skin cancer there, and I removed it, and it has scabbed over. It's just about gone now, but it was kind of painful there for a few days. It swelled up pretty good, and there was a big old huge scab on there. And if you've seen some of my other videos, you can see how big a scab that thing did make on there. But anyway, it's gone, and I've removed several of these things on my skin. And once I do that, now they won't come back. And the way I get rid of them is I just take a waterproof bandage, a waterproof Band-Aid, a large one, and then we'll cut a paper towel to go on the area that I want to treat, and then I will apply that on there, and then I'll leave a little opening in the side of the bandage where I can take a vinegar, just a 5% acidic vinegar, and pump in there and keep it wet for about 4 days. And boy, after about the second day, you'll start feeling it burn, and it'll burn, and then it'll get worse and worse, and then it'll burn like hell for a little while, for a couple of days. And but this one on my top of my right hand, it was pretty. That one was pretty serious. It swelled up, and I had to stop because it got so painful. I had to quit. And then I let it healed up pretty well, and then I did one more application, and hopefully I got it all this time, and I think I did. And it's weird that vinegar, it won't bother the skin, that's healthy, just where those cancers are, and will it affect and scab up over. And I've taken off, I don't know, probably, let's see, I've 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 or 10. I've taken off 8 or 10 cancers. And once you do that, they won't come back. And if you go and have those things removed, 9 times out of 10 they'll come back, and you'll have to go back and get them removed again. But if you do this application, they will not come back. I've had some gone for like 20, 25 or 30 years, and they didn't come back. I had several of them on the front of my neck, and the first ones that I did, it was just a little itchy spot. I thought, well, I'm going to try this. Somebody told me about it, so I thought, well, it's worth a try. And man, when I put that on there, it was just one little spot that was itchy. When I did that, golly, there was probably 10 of those things that showed up, that was scattered around up there on actually the top of my chest, right below my neck. And they were, some of them left a hole in there, a pretty good sized hole, but they healed up and it's all gone, and they haven't come back. And on my arms, Because when I was younger, I used to do a lot of fishing. I mean, a lot of fishing, and I'd go fishing 3, 4 times a week, and sit out in that hot sun, and it just baked my arms and my face and my neck and all around. So that's how that goes when you're young. You're pretty stupid, so you don't think about this stuff. But back when, people wasn't aware of the dangers of it as they are now. I'm getting this valley down in here, and I'm getting some aspens down in this valley. These are going to be indication of these colorful aspens and pine trees down in that valley. And then you can see where I put some low-lying clouds down in that valley, and then as I go, I will add more and more of that on down in that valley, and it will push those bright colors. It'll mute those bright colors just a little bit, and push those on further back into the background. And this is just a fun thing, and this little brush I got, it's just a little detail brush, and I just use the side of it to dab on these trees with. And as I said, those are really dark, and I'll come back and put some of that atmosphere in there with those low-lying clouds. I'll put some atmosphere in there, and it'll tone those down just a little bit. And that's the beauty with acrylics. You can put that on there in a dark shade, and then come back in 10 minutes and put a glaze over it, and it'll tone them down to whatever colors or the shade that you want just by glazing over. So right in here, I'm putting a little bit of snow in some places, various places around. You're getting some snow-colored shadows on the right side of these mountains, and down in some of the strategic parts where they're shaded in, hidden from the sun. And I'm not real sure that I like these cliffs. That I may come back later and do something with those cliffs. I'm not real sure I like that. But anyway, this is for a tutorial on how to. And I'll probably change that composition just a little bit where those cliffs are. And of course, I'm not through with them right now. I've got quite a bit more to do on those. And right here, I'm just getting some highlights on the sunny side of these clouds. And I love painting clouds. To me, clouds are so beautiful. They're just every shape, every size, from little tiny to huge. And some of them are beautiful and soft and white, and then some of them are really angry with coming at you with trying to kill you. But they're all beautiful. And okay, now right here, what I have done is, so I didn't like the way that that mountain, the way it was centered up in the image, so I added on to the right side of it a little bit to give it a little more mass. And and move it over to the right just a little bit. And I'll let that dry up there, and then I'll come back in a little bit and I'll put some of the shadows, that snow colored shadows on the right side of that. And then down in this area, down in this valley, I'm adding in some dark. I'm just getting some underpainting in right now, and then I will come in and start adding in all the trees and all the details, and just make some fun stuff. Yeah, so much fun. And I'm just blocking in some colors. Nothing detailed. And whenever you're blocking in there, you want to try and keep your brush stroke in line with of whatever angles you're trying to portray. Here, like trees would be a vertical up and down, and then on landscapes it's usually horizontal. Okay, right here those acrylics are dried back in that area, and I'm putting in some of this atmosphere, some of these clouds, and it's muting those down, and it pushes those back into a background, and gives the painting some depth. In that atmosphere, what you're looking at is just water, and actually this is blue. I'm putting on a very light blue color because if you'll look, when you're looking at these mountains and stuff, it's got these clouds and stuff on it. It's actually blue. The water's blue, and that's why the ocean's blue, and that's why the sky's blue. You're looking at water, and most of the time when you're looking at just some clear water, you don't think of it that water actually being blue, because in a shallow sense you don't see that blue. But then when it gets deep and really confined, well, those colors compress, and you get the blue effect. So right here I'm just adding in some of these some of these snow shadow colors right across the top. I wanted to get some snow right across the top of that ridge up there, and a little bit dab here and there where the sun might be hitting some of those high places. And then down in the valleys, where the glaciers usually hide. And then here I just dabbing in some trees here and there. And over here I'm trying to get the top of this ridge, these plateaus or whatever you might want to call those. I'm not sure I like that. I may come back and take those out. That one right in there. Now this one up on the right on the foreground, I'll probably leave that one, but those that I'm working on right there, I'm not sure I like that. I don't know. I'll work on those some offline. But you get the idea. This is just a tutorial on how to apply these acrylics and make them work for you. And actually, they're really easy. It's like anything. You got to practice it, whether it be oil paints or watercolors or acrylics or egg tempera. It doesn't matter. You have to learn how. Very few people sit down, grab a brush, and start painting and make something of it. But there is the exception. And I can tell you that this came natural for me. I've never had a lesson, or and some of my first paintings, actually they're pretty darn good. I've got them out in I've got most of them out in the storage out there. And one of these days I'm going to take those things and I'm going to do a YouTube video and just start showing a bunch of those paintings that I painted 50 years ago. And there's a few of them that I don't know what happened to them. In fact, there's a lot of them that I don't know what happened to. I know some of them got wet. They got damaged in a storm, and I just discarded them. And then I've given away just tons of them to people who they liked my work, and I just give it to them. And I enjoy giving away my art, especially to someone that that appreciate it and wants and would enjoy it. So right in here, I'm just getting these trees on the side of these mountains. Dabbling here and dabbing there. It's just a fun thing. So much fun. So I'm getting darks and lights and darks and lights and darks and lights, and that's what makes a painting really interesting. Okay, what I'm doing right here, I just take some pure titanium white and started painting in some trees, and I'll show you why I did this like this here in just a moment. Because it's really hard to get a really bright yellow color. And what I'm doing is I'm painting in these trees with just pure white, and then when this dries, I will come back and I'll put a yellow glaze over them. And what that does, it just makes those trees just glow. And especially in these aspen trees where the colors vary so much. There'll be some really bright places, and there'll be some yellow places, and then there'll be some that are kind of a burnt sienna color, a brownish, reddish color. So you just watch what happens here with this white, and you'll see why I did it this way. And then those aspen trees, there'll be patches of them that are green, and then some of them have turned and some of them haven't, and some of them will be started turning, and there'll be a faint yellow color, a yellow green. So it just I love to go to the mountains in the fall, especially in the fall when the aspens are turning. And you usually only have about a week to 2 weeks, and you can go. I know me and the wife took a vacation in 2015, and we were gone for almost 3 months. We drove all over the western United States and saw a lot of these beautiful mountain places, and we'd stop at our first stop on the way out there from Fort Worth, as we stopped in Colorado at Rocky Mountain National Park. And the trees, this was in late September, and the trees had just started turning a little bit when we got there, and a week later they'd already turned and then just started falling off. So a week to 10 days, you got a window there. And it was kind of strange because the further we went north, we went up through, went up to Wyoming to Grand Teton National Park, and those trees up there, really hadn't even, they started turning a little bit, but not much. And then we stayed around there for about a week, and by the time we left, those in the fall, colors were at the peak. And then we went on up to Yellowstone, and they hadn't even started turning there. And then we went on up. We only stayed around Yellowstone for a couple of days. And now see right here what I've done. I took some yellow and put on top of that white, and it makes that yellow. It makes a really bright yellow. And that's the reason that I had put this white on. So see how beautiful that yellow comes out. And then I came back and I put in some of that golden color that Aspen's turned. And it just makes a beautiful setting. And then when we got up to Montana at Glacier National Park, those trees had just started turning, and we stayed around there for about, I don't know, 10 days or 2 weeks. We drove all around that Glacier National Park, and that was just so beautiful. I mean, that was just breathtaking, phenomenally beautiful. And I painted several pictures. I don't know how many pictures I took while we were there. I took hundreds of pictures, not in the thousands. And I've painted several pictures of that area. But you can see right here where I blocked in that white paint, and then I want to put these trees in. And these aspen trees, they got a white trunk, pretty much white with some black splotches on them and bark stuff. And they're just a beautiful tree. So I'm glazing over this white and getting some color in. And it looks like I'm going to be in a way where you can't see what I'm doing. It's hard to remember to stay out of the way. I try to stand to one side when I do this, but sometimes I'll get so involved in what I'm doing, I don't think about what I'm doing. As far as a camera or the video, I'm trying to video these things. Okay, so I finally recognize and step to the side. So I'm not a complete dummy all the time, most of the time, but not all the time. So isn't that fun? And these are some of the things you learn as you go along, and this is something that I learned. No one taught me, I just learned it on my own. Just by experimenting. Let me get some of those burnt orangey colors in on these aspen trees. And on the side of these mountains, I'm trying to get some highlights, some sun glow on the side of these cliffs. It's just some fun stuff. Okay, right here I'm adding in some more of this white, and bringing those on in closer and closer. And here in just in a little bit you'll see I'll start putting in some really dark pine trees up close, and what that's going to do is it's going to give a really deep contrast between these lights and these darks, and you'll see what I'm talking about here in just in a few minutes when I add in these pine trees. And then right now I'm getting this white paint in where these pine groves or these aspen groves are going to be, in just layers and layers and layers, and it just makes everything so fun, so pretty. And I'll let that white dry for a few minutes, and then I'll come in and start putting in some green. It has some greens and some light greens and some dark greens, and then I will come in later and add some more of this fog down in that valley there, and give it some atmosphere and kind of bring that fog right on down that valley. And I really want to show you, once I get these kind of the light colored greens in, I'll show you why I did that here in just a moment. Because when I started adding in those really large dark pine trees, you'll see why I put in this lighter green color in some of these areas right along here. Now over here to the left, I didn't want to get it too bright because that's all in shadow back over in there. But I had to get it some light to really get these pine trees to stand out that I'm going to put in just a few minutes. And most of that will cover up here in just a few minutes, or a lot of it, not most of it, a lot of it will. and then it'll just leave. You'll just leave some of that background in the back. You'll be able to. And right here, I'm putting in these tree trunks on these large pine trees that are going to be up close. And you can see where I started adding in these dark large pine trees. And then over here to the left, I lighten them up a little bit because they're in shadow. And it's kind of a blue-gray color on these pine trees over here. Isn't that fun? Look how fun that is. And if anybody wanted a hobby, man, I'd highly recommend. I'd highly recommend painting it because it's just a great hobby, and it's so fun when you do one and it turns out really pretty, and then people look at it and they go, "Wow, man, you painted that," and that's so gratifying. And it's like the poem that I wrote. I mean, this is a place where I only come, and it's such a joy to be able to share that with someone, to share someone for this place where I come, where only I come. And then when somebody hangs it on their wall, then it's a place where they can come. So just watch how these dark pine trees that I'm putting in, how much it adds to the depth of this this painting. Just watch what this does. It's just so beautiful. It's such a fun thing to do. See how much that changes the complexity of this painting. Just a few dark pine trees. And this green that actually those are green, it's not black. It's called Hooker's Green Deep, and it's a very almost black green color. And it's kind of hard to find. Liquitex is the only one that well, no, there's a couple of other companies that makes that Hooker's Green Deep, but not very many. And the only place I can find it and get it is order it online. So, right there, you saw where I was adding in some shadows, those trees on the side of those mountains, and that's very important to get those shadows in on the sides of those mountains, because what it does is when you're painting those trees in like that, and if you don't have those shadows in there, then they look like they're just stuck on there, and you have to set those trees down to earth, and the way you do that is with a shadow. And you see on the left side there where I put shadows along on the bottom of those trees. And then right up in here, I'm putting just a little hint of some snow that might be lingering around in some areas. Up in those a little bit higher elevation, it's a little tad of snow. I added just a little bit of the back side of that one cliff there to give it to set it back behind this one up here in the front. Trying to get a few marks in the cloud and getting some highlights, some snow shadows in some of these areas that needs that snow, and kind of got a valley right there that I wanted to accentuate just a little bit. And from here out, it's just adding some highlights here and there and here and there. And this one looks kind of Jurassic in an odd sort of way. So, hey guys, if you enjoyed this, please subscribe to Gary Mac Studio. Only lack about 500 more hours, and I've been doing this since February. I started doing YouTube in February, and I'm almost to the point to get monetized. I need 500 more watch time hours. But watch these videos from front to end, and it sure would help me out. And you guys that are learning to paint, you can learn a lot just by watching someone else, and how they come about getting their images and their techniques. And I learn from other people, I watch other people, and I learn, and most of what you see right here is I've learned on my own. And there's where I'm at on this painting so far. And I don't maybe make a few changes, I don't know, but love y'all. Y'all subscribe. We'll catch you on the next one. Bye bye.